Greetings and salutations, I am Karamrasmar. And welcome to my Twitch stream, where I am currently playing through Pillars of Eternity. Greetings, Saber. How are you this evening? This is only the second session of Pillars of Eternity, so fairly near to the start. Or I say fairly near to the start. I'm pretty sure I'm fairly near to the start. Honestly, I'd be shocked and horrid if I was fairly near to the end at this stage. I didn't note you streaming. I'm sorry I didn't manage to catch that, but how was it? I do believe you were experimenting with your TTPRG. Hope that all went well for you. So yes, rather than putting too many delays up top, so basically last session, most of it was players didn't die. I'm not entirely sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing in the Warhammer 40k, I believe it is. I hear that some campaigns in the Warhammer universe at least are fairly high body count when it comes to the players. So, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. What's your goal to have none of the players... well, actually, no. You don't want the players dying, you want their characters dying, which is a minor quibble over semantics, really. Players dying would be a terrible thing for a stream. Characters dying on stream, anyway, so yes, last session mainly was character creation. We got to get into a little bit about the setting of the area, where we were part of a caravan heading towards the Gilded Vale. The caravan got waylaid by a branch falling down, and my character feeling deathly ill. So we went to fetch some stuff to take care of that. Unfortunately, then the camp got attacked, and their Space Marines are meant to be badass in killing hordes. If it was Dark Heresy, I'd expect them to die much easier. Yeah, fair enough. And then there was a sort of like weather event, which is very local to the region, called I want to call it an earwiggin. It's something like that. I'll remember when we get into it, or somebody else will say it. That forced us into these ruins, which was trespassing. There was a machine that was being manipulated by some guy the other side. That machine knocked us out, or another one of these storms occurred, and we were knocked out. When we came to, we could hear voices in our heads. And we rested, investigated a little, headed to town, went to town, and there's a couple of issues going on. One, the Lord who basically promised us land isn't receiving guests at the moment because they are expecting the birth of their child, and unfortunately the region is suffering from a malady where children are born without souls. And I don't know too much about that at the moment, but the born without souls are called hollowborn, and their child has just been born hollowborn, so that's not a good thing. We got instructed to go to the inn and wait for things to occur. We got to the inn, met a guy, can't remember his name right now, and they got into a bit of a scuffle, and basically that's where we ended the session. Couple of things so far is I'm playing a chanter. Never played this class before in this game, or I don't recall anything similar to it in any other games. So that's a little bit interesting. We're still just level 2, and yeah, let's jump right back into it. Okay, game scene, performance mode. Click on this. Continue. I clicked on continue. I kind of wanted to click on load just to make sure that it loaded the right thing up, but it should load the right thing with this. I don't think I mucked around with it too much outside of... Yeah, this is the right thing. Oh yes, that's the other thing, is like my character is a moon godlike chanter. So we've got a bow, we've got a club and a small shield, and we're very blue. Dabba-dee. Alof is this guy's name. He's got a grimoire. So one of the interesting things about wizards I find in this is to prepare spells it needs to go into your grimoire. And you can have multiple grimoires if you find another one lying around somewhere. Or you buy another one, and these grimoires can have different spells in different level slots, but you know, you can still manipulate it like you normally would. I believe I could so like drag, maybe clear, yeah, I can clear that and put that in there to switch these things out. If I so desired. I don't know whether it requires a rest or something like that, but the other alternative is you can have multiple grimoires and switch out the entire grimoire. They've got unique leather armor. It's already been slightly enchanted, or enchantment on it. And there, that basically gives them an area effect. One of the interesting things to a certain degree is you can sort of like enchant most things to a certain degree. So with whatever that is, or is that the cost? Not entirely sure. It might be the cost. So with Pilgrim's Crown, Adra, Ooze Plasma, 600 copper pieces and level 4 and 2 enchantment points, it will increase the DR of this by 2. But you can only fit so many enchantments on one piece of armor or item. You got burn proofing, which adds damage reduction to specific aspects. So you know, one of the things that you could do is the armor comes with overseeing, which is giving it this area of effect thing, but you know, you could raise the quality up by 8. That would leave you with 6 left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'd miss out on one type of damage, and you can make it fairly you know, this would be +8 to the damage reduction, plus most basic damage is 3, plus the armor itself. Could allow you to get, you know, 11, and the armor itself is 6. So 17 points of damage resistance, which is kind of impressive. But that's all the armor really counts for in this. It doesn't really count for, you know, whether you hit or miss. That's all down to the stats of your defenses. You've got deflection, reflex, fortitude, and will, versus whatever stat the attack is coming from. The primary one tends to be accuracy. But I think it will occasionally put in sort of like other kinds of attacks, but I'm not entirely sure. So there's not really much I want to do to him right now. I'm just going to shuffle some of this stuff away into the bag, because I don't really need it right now. I'm going to keep hold of that mace just for the moment, because I used to use a mace. And even though I put it back in, you know, This stash, it's very easy to be so like, yeah, I'll put it in the stash and pull it out of the stash. They've really not done too much for the inventory management on this. As far as I'm aware, you've always got access to this. It's just how easy it is to, you know, when you're in combat and when you're so like trying to quickly find something, whether it's in the party sheet or whether you have to go searching for it through all of these different locale things. Oh, they've already got a cloak on. Oh, it's just it's a regular old cape. There we go. Put on the cape, which I got as part of being a Kickstarter. Right, so I believe seek help for your condition, but the main thing I think was, so like go in here and get some rest was the general advice. Villager, Picasso. Some kind of brown slop is congealing in these dishes. It smells burnt.
Hail and well met.
Oh, greetings and welcome to the Black Hound Inn. The innkeeper bows her head in curtly. Please sit where you like. Would you like a drink or a room, or have we have two available at the moment. I'm afraid we can't offer much by the way of a good meal today, she sighs. Unless you're fond of cold porridge. You only serve porridge? Alof looks at you and shakes his head quickly. It isn't by choice, I assure you. We used to serve some of the finest meals in the Direwood. We've had a damnable run of luck, is all, and it's been a bad season for the crops, and we're running low on supplies. I sent Tenthrift up north to stock up. Tenthrift's our cook, you see, an artist with a good roast, but it's been days since he was supposed to return, and we haven't seen any sign of him. She sighs again. I've only just taken over from the last owner myself. I don't know what I'll do if he doesn't turn up. I could try to find him for you. Really? Her face brightens. I'd be grateful to you if you did. Wibble, my cat, Wibble indeed. He was travelling through the Valewood. It's probably nothing, a broken wheel maybe, but I do worry. You seem safely home, and I think everyone in here would sing your praises. Nobody much likes my porridge. Could I see what you have for sale? Alof opens his mouth, but seems to reconsider. Nothing for me, thanks. Of course, we're running a little short on goods these days, but we ought to have more soon. Okay, so this is just, very much basic supplies. They've got camping supplies, which I might want to stock up on before too long. But I can get rid of some of this. Oh, no. So many games where different things to... Never know if I'm supposed to keep hold of some of this stuff. Because most of it is just junk as far as I'm concerned. That's crafting stuff, so I do want to keep all of that. There we go, we finally got some money. One of the interesting things is that you can recruit adventurers in this, so I could basically take out a customized party. I'm pretty sure you could do the same thing in Pathfinder Kingmaker, but I never really got round to doing that kind of thing. You can retrain characters if you didn't like the way that they leveled up. You can drop off people and pick people up, much like in many modern RPGs. You got a store, got rooms. What's interesting is how, like, you've got the common room, which doesn't cost any money, but you can then spend money for the Direward's Pride, which lasts, and it has an effect that lasts for 2 rests, which is +2 resolve. You've also got the Labourer's Rest, which is slightly cheaper, but gives you for 2 rests +1 perception and 1 mechanics. I'm not really in a position to be resting at the moment. I'm not all that injured. So I'm just not going to rest, but it's one of them useful things that's like, it encourages you to rest in an inn rather than out on the road. Are they going to complain if I pick stuff up? This is stealing. I don't know how I feel yet about being a thief. Spoons hang by the fire, coated in brownish gunk. I think I'm a person who steals, but only for things that are worth stealing. A couple of beers isn't really worth it. Oh, what did this one say? The floorboards are sticky with spills that no one has bothered to clean. Barrel with milk and grain. Roland server. Drunkard, villagers. Let's have a look at this table. Don't mind if I do. Development of a Crucible Knight, Part 2, Senior Ranks. Commander and Forge Master. Once path is chosen, the knight's life is spent in training in his preferred discipline. The pomp and formalities that surround his life up to this point are all but gone. The training is far more rigorous, and there is less ceremony to mark his progress. For most knights, Commander Body or Forge Master Soul are further than they will ever advance. Training of a knight at this level is almost exclusively in the discipline he has chosen. Is still rounded out with instruction from the other. A knight a knight is not truly a knight if he does not have full breadth of knowledge. When he passes from Justicar to Commander, the knight is given a blue cape to wear with his plate armor. When a Tempest rises to the position of Forge Master, he is presented with the white cloak. Marshal and Marshal and something. After time spent training, an elite knight that shows true leadership potential and promise is elevated to the next level. A knight of the body becomes a marshal, and the knight of the soul becomes a Krulikar. At this point, he is in command of a small group of knights, Commander, Forge Master, and below. He is responsible for the recruitment, initiation, and advancement of new squires. Many knights do not want to advance to this level and beyond because the role becomes less hands-on and more advisory. Marshals are known by their purple capes, while Krulikars are distinguished by a gold cloak. Lord Justicar and Grand Tempest. A marshal or a Krulikar that shows true and effective command over knights in his keeping may be offered the position of Lord Justicar of the body or Grand Templus of the soul. Truly a command position, a knight that accepts one of these roles will be removed from the front lines. Because of this, it is only the most dedicated leaders that take either of these positions. Lord Marshal and Grand Krulikar. One of those. There is not a single knight that oversees the entire group. This responsibility is split between the Lord Marshal and the Lord Krulikar. Any knight that advances to this position does not only support of the knights as a whole, he must be nominated and selected by a majority of knights. Once in this position, he is there for life. The Lord Marshal or Lord Krulikar may step down from the post if he chooses, but that is only to retire from life of a knight. The stress and responsibilities of this position is such that many refuse it, even if they are capable of handling it. Lord Marshals and Krulikars are well known and generally respected throughout the lands, not just within the Knights. Yeah. Don't think that knowledge would ever come in use again. As you near, you feel a vibrant history contained in the essence of this woman's soul. Voices from the past seem to call out to you. Reach out for the soul. You see a woman emptying her satchel onto her bed, taking stock of her inventory. Potions, bandages, tinctures, and herbs are scattered throughout her room haphazardly. She bites her lip, head tilted to the side, considering. She begins to repack one item after the other. Careful deliberation undercut by shaking hands. Each item has clearly a marked place, but no matter how she repacks it, she isn't satisfied. The shaking worsens as she empties it out once more, and one hand held to her mouth. Tears eke from her eyes as she gives up on semblance of order and shoves everything she can into the satchel, grabbing it and running out of the bare house. Straightening her back, she walks to the docks, chin high, eyes hard and red. A gangly young elf offers her condolences, but she can't see him for the ocean ahead of her. She wanders the docks, offering her services as a doctor to any who will listen, anyone heading out on a high tide. Less than an hour later, she watches her childhood disappear in the distance, a tiny speck of an island, and tries not to jump. That just repeats. As you near, you feel a vibrant history contained in the essence of this man's soul. Voices from the past seem to call out to you. You see a young group of young men standing around a makeshift practice target. This man stands in the middle of them, explaining the construction and use of a bow. He holds it up, pointing out each part as he speaks about it and what it does. He then walks away from the target, telling the others to remain where they are, and takes his place about 200 feet away. He carefully lines up his shot, explaining what he is doing as he does, and lets the arrow fly. It hits the target dead center, much to the surprise and delight of the boys near it. He smiles, walking towards the boys, talking about proper stance and how to most effectively hold a bow. A noise comes from the tree line near their practice venue, and he stops, scanning the woods, blue eyes squinting against the sun. A shadow moves, making its way through the forest behind them. He draws an arrow and lines up the shot, carefully tracking the motion of the hidden creature. Loosing the arrow, he wastes no time and grabs another. The boys spin, watching the arrows fly into the forest, immediately lost amongst the trees. There is a sudden explosive movement in the undergrowth as a deer erupts from the tree line, running across the edge of the clearing. The boys laugh, turning to joke with the man about his lousy shot. They stop talking, seeing him holding the bow and leading the deer with a knocked arrow. They drop to the ground as he looses this last arrow, which flies true and strikes the deer behind its shoulder, piercing heart and lungs, and dropping it dead almost immediately. The boys stare at the deer for a few seconds and then slowly turn to look at the man, newfound respect in their eyes. He smiles again and breathes a quiet sigh of relief.
And shadows.
Roaches scatter and flee under the crates. Cramped behind books is a drawing that shows Ethras and Lord Rarik in a compromising position.
It's done.
I mean, it wasn't stealing. The Direwood, Part 1, Early Colonial History. No other land has such a wild and bloody recent history, from colony to Palatine to Free Republic. The Direwood has undergone a trial by fire to emerge as a powerful force of the Eastern Reach. Direwood's history actually begins in Ada in 2602 AI. Haydire explorers return from a journey across the ocean with tales of the treasures they found. They've discovered countless ruins scattered throughout the forests, as well as plains to the north of the trees that would be perfect for growing Vorlas. There was a problem, however. The locals were hostile, and there was a potential for conflict. The Fire Conning of Ada, first king, knew that this was too good of an opportunity to pass up and sent more explorers to scout and map the area. Exploration continued over the next 20 years. Small groups of explorers traveled back and forth between Ada and the New World, with a handful of colonists setting up small camps to establish a base for explorers to work out of. Conflicts with the locals, who the Adrians learnt are called the Glenfarthans, were rare but frequent enough for Conning to send a small squadron of guards to help protect his citizens. These guards established a central base on the river of the western section of the woods. This settlement would eventually become the city of Dryford, upon which modern-day village of the same name is presently built. Once that base was established, the first permanent Adrian settlements began north and west of the Bale River. Over the next 3 years, thousands of Adrians made the trek to from Adri to this new land. The Glenfarthans, who seemed to revere the ruins, scattered through the forest, causing a few problems with some of the settlements, especially those founded near the ruins themselves. These were easily taken care of by the colonists with the help of the Imperial Guard. The Adrians, in order to further their foothold in the area, reduced the cost of production, and in an attempt to keep the Glenfarth's population under control, started making slaves out of the Glenfarthans. Making slaves out of any Glenfarthans captured during the uprisings. This resulted in a great increase in tension between the two groups. With the population of the area growing, an official government structure was established by the Conning. He appointed several earls to preside over the land, assigned them thanes to help run their territories. They called sorry about that. They were called the New Gratham of Direwood. Direford remained the centre of the Imperial Guard, but the settlement in Pierwood Gulf, a new Dundry, were the true seat of power in the area, sitting at the edge of ocean, forest, fertile farmland, and a river that runs from coast of White Marsh. Settlers flocked to this area, hoping to establish names for themselves. Adria began to spread across the new land. Wow. As you near, you feel the vibrant history contained in the essence of this man's soul. Voices from its past seem to call out to you. You see a man soar through the air, hitting a nearby wall with a nauseating crunch. He doesn't get up. His attacker, a burly, clean-cut warrior with a Carnivorous grin turns and shoves his fist into the stomach of another assailant, removing another from the impromptu brawl. The bar is a whirlwind of elbows, knees, fists, and feet, and with no end in sight, and he is in his element. In the corner, three smaller men speak quietly, throwing malicious glances at the larger man in the center. He breaks a chair over a tattooed head, crackling. The trio position themselves in three parts of the room, and with a terse nod they charge. Unfortunately for them, the man sees them coming. Something in his eyes burns brightly, and all three slump to the ground in an agony that's all in their minds. The burly man bows to the room of the unconscious and incapacitated before sauntering out, off-key whistle trailing behind him. As you near, you feel the vibrant history contained in the essence of this man's soul. Voices from the past seem to call out to you. You see an emancipated boy in chains, black holes for eyes staring sightlessly at a wall. A man in a dark coat walks in, a scroll and an oddly shaped quill in his hand. The boy glances at him expressionless, a corpse waiting for animation. The man looks at him, a disapproval clear in his tone. The boy stands, limbs hanging. The man takes the quill and begins to write it on the boy's chest, copying sharp, angular symbols from the scroll. The child doesn't flinch as the quill digs into his skin, drawing blood as it goes. The wizard finishes with a flourish and barks some arcane command, setting the symbols to glow dully. The boy cries out, knees hitting the stone hard, his chest burning black and red. Finally, the glow disappears, leaving only hard black scars etched into his skin. He slumps sideways, twitching, eyes facing the back of his skull. The wizard grunts, kicking him on the leg on his way out. The boy lies on the floor until dawn, eyes still black little holes and the twitches growing into convulsive shakes. As you near, you feel a vibrant history contained in the essence of this woman's soul. Voices from its past seem to call to you. You see a long, empty road cutting through two large crop fields. The air is silent and the land seems too still for early afternoon. This woman walks slowly on the road, leading a horse, curiously looking around. She seems to sense something wrong, but is unable to discern what it is. She stops, sniffing at the air, her nose high, her brow crinkles, and she casts about, looking for something. The air is clear, no clouds. She sniffs again, still looking around, confusion clouding her face, mouthing a single word. Fire? She looks across the field, her confusion turning to fear. She holds her hand up to block the sun from her eyes and scans the fields again. Not finding what she is looking for, she jumps onto her horse's back, and fear quickly becomes panic. She kicks, sending the horse shooting down the path, which bends around some trees where the farmhouse should be. She pulls up short, horror now in residence on her face as she stares at the burnt and charred mess that used to be her family home. Tears well in her eyes as she kicks again, racing to the rubble. This hound stares intently at the covered window, head cocked as if waiting to hear a particular sound. It looks up when you approach and whines a low note, tail wagging slightly. Pet the dog. The dog's tail thumps happily against the floorboards. There's an alternate way out. They did tell me to rest. So I'm wondering if that's going to trigger something or whether I should go around the rest of town and do what you do in all video games, which is enter all houses and pester the locals for anything.
How do you do?
Hello again. Anything I can do for you? We still have the rooms open and it's never too early for a drink. Please sit where you like. Would you like a drink or a room? We have two available at the moment. I'm afraid we can't offer much by way of a good meal today, unless you're fond of cold porridge. What's the story with that dog upstairs? Oh, that poor thing. She's still waiting for the old owner of this place. Thing is, I don't think he's coming back. It's been a long time now. We've tried our best, but with things how they are, we don't have much attention to spare for a hound. I'd like to know more about the Black Hound. Really? Well, let me see. The actual building's been here for years, but the Black Hound's fairly new. We got a lot of new faces in here too. Fewer than we used to, I'll admit. I used to work the tables actually, until the old owner up and left. Nobody's sure what happened to him. Even his poor hound, even left his poor hound behind. That's the name, see? The Black Hound? It's still sitting upstairs, pining after him. Poor old girl. Place ended up in my hands somehow, she laughs. My very own inn. A lot of hard work involved, but it's been worth it so far. I could use some reliable help. Do you know anyone looking for work? Oh, well, I wouldn't say I can speak from experience, but I do have certain sorts coming by looking for work from time to time. If you want to hire someone, I'd be happy to send them your way. Let me see what I have to work with. And it comes up with this screen. Just going to rest in the common room for no copper. Because that sounds like a sensible idea. And loot anything not nailed down. Oh. Your sleep is restless and fevered, assaulted by hisses and whispers, blanketed with the suffocating anxiety. You open your eyes to awaken and find yourself in front of Gilded Vale's gallows tree, the creaking of its ropes growing louder in your mind until the sound is deafening. Hanging from the tree is an old dwarf woman whose face is shriveled inwards like mouldering fruit. Her head hangs limply to one side. As you look at her, she looms larger and larger in your mind until she is mere inches from your face. Suddenly, her head snaps up and her eyes open, and they are empty, and behind them is a vast nothingness that makes your stomach drop. Her mouth slowly parts, and with a gust of rancid air, she speaks a word. Watcher. You jolt awake, the foul smell of the dwarf's woman's breath still permeating your nostrils. Sweat runs down your face in thick droplets and your skin is soaked from head to toe. You remember the woman. You remember seeing her decaying face when you spoke to the magistrate. He called her an animancer. Though it fills you with a new, queasy apprehension, you feel a strange compulsion to see the woman once more, if only to confirm she is truly dead. Did you loot the nailing down machine? Yes. Look at that. People are always putting Christmas decorations up too early. I think they're better Halloween decorations. I mean, I don't think they're decorations at all. I think they're literally hanging people from a tree because they displease somebody. But we can pretend they're decorations if you want. Makes you feel any better. Actually mention that. Yeah, no decorations around here yet. Which seems odd. I think it's been becoming more and more delayed these years. So that's the Black Hound Inn, and I'm guessing now I'm free to go wherever I want. Although I should go talk to the woman in the tree. Or see the woman in the tree. I'm gonna end up talking to her. Spoilers. You ever been to Defiance Bay? Do you have a name? No. With the roads away they are, I'll stay put. The windows are clouded with haze of accumulated smoke and cooking grease. I do like that it's got very clearly marked markers for where the points of interest are. This one dog-eared book is titled Travels Upon Kelglass Sea. There is an etched illustration of a vast finned leviathan. A dire-woden woman is standing in front of the fireplace, humming a quiet tune to herself, or perhaps to her unborn child, for she is quite clearly pregnant. She turns her head slightly as you enter.
Gods keep you.
Well, finally, I was starting to think. The woman makes a startled noise once she turns around and sees you. Oh, I'm sorry, I was expecting someone else. She gives you a cautious smile. Can I help you? I just arrived in the Gilded Vale. I thought I'd get to know the locals. Were you with one of the caravans? She looks at you hopefully. Master Odemes, by any chance? I was, yes. I'm afraid the rest of the caravan was killed. Othra covers her mouth with a hand, eyes wide with horror. For a few moments she can manage nothing but a strangled, voiceless gasping, her eyes brimming with tears. I knew. I told her it was a dangerous path to take. Kaliska was always so certain she could take on any danger. Oh, fast enough, sniffs. Oh, my poor sister. I'm sorry, stranger. I can't believe she's gone. If only I hadn't called her here. If I hadn't written to her, she might still be alive somewhere. Alfred's face crumples, and a solitary tear slides down her cheek. Gracious, Nevlin, how are you going to raise a child if you're this weak? No. Kaliska mentioned that she thought you needed help. Perhaps I can provide some assistance? Alfred looks at you with some surprise before dabbing her nose with her sleeve. That's kind of you to offer, but I don't know if I could impose on you. It's not a small favour. Afra wipes at her eyes. I'm worried about the baby, about the legacy. I told Kaliskar as much as I could, but all I know is that for a long time now, every child born in Gilded Vale has been soulless, empty. It happened to so many mothers, and Lord Rederick has exiled all of them, calling it a sign of the gods' disfavour. With my half-orc gone, I don't know how I'd manage if I lost my home too. I'd hoped Kaliskar could help me. They say Rengar, the old midwife, knows a way to prevent child being hollowborn, but she moved south to Anslog's Compass 2 seasons ago. The journey's too far for me. I can't make it as I am, but I don't have anyone else now, with Kaliskar gone. More tears run down her face. Please, can you help me? I'll find Rengar for you. Afra blinks, her eyes wide. You will? Oh, God bless you. Here, I'll give you a coin to pay her with. You needn't trouble yourself with that. I think it's a drink she fashions out of, well, I'm not sure, but it shouldn't be too much of a burden to carry back. Anslog's Compass is what we call the lagoon to the south. You'll have to cross the wilds to get there, and that's what keeps me from trying it myself. She clasps her hands together. Thank you again, truly. You'll be saving us both. And she sets her hands on her stomach, smiling through her tears. Alright, what do you have to loot? Anything of interest? No, not really. Locks the usurper. As you near, you feel the vibrant history contained in the essence of this man's soul. Voices from its past seem to call out to you. You see a lone man standing in a field. He looks around, surveying the crops. Occasionally he bends to examine a leaf close up. He is intent on what he is doing, completely absorbed in his work. The man approaches him from behind. He moves slowly, but does nothing to mask his approach. In his hand he holds a large sword. There appears to be no malice or hatred in this man's demeanor. He almost seems pleased. The first man hears his approach and stands, turning away from the plant he was inspecting. His face breaks into a smile, and he opens his arms to welcome the approaching man. The smile freezes into a grimace as the second man thrusts the sword through his stomach, its blade now protruding from his back. His arms slowly fall to his side, and blood starts to drip from the sword to the plant below the man. As the first man crumbles to his knees, the second pulls out the sword, a tear slowly falling down the cheek of his still smiling face. As you near, you feel the vibrant history contained in the essence of this man's soul. Voices from its past seem to call out to you. You see as a small group of people gathered around the ruins of a house. The destruction continues out from a single dwelling through the entire village. Not a single building still stands. Rubble is scattered everywhere. One of the men in the group leans over something in the debris. It is this man, younger, barely more than a boy. The man reaches out and shakes the boy by the shoulder. The boy makes no sound and doesn't respond to the man's disturbance. The man looks up at the other members of the group and shrugs, standing to rejoin his friends. The boy suddenly sits up, eyes wide. He scrabbles backwards away from the group, looking around in horror. The group moves towards him in unison, elicting a yelp from the boy, who tries to move farther away. A woman in the group puts out her hands, stopping the rest. She turns to them reproachfully, motions for them to stay, and then looks at the boy on the ground, who is trying to push himself through what remains of a wall. He seems unaware he was even stopped. The woman slowly moves towards the boy, hands out, speaking in a low, calming tone. For a time, the boy doesn't even hear. He just closes his eyes and braces himself against the wall, expecting violence. Eventually, the woman's words work through the fear, and he hears her. He opens his tear-filled eyes and stares at her. She holds out her hand to him. He looks at it, seemingly confused by the offer, then hesitantly reaches out. She takes his hand in hers and leans down to help him stand. No idea what that is about. Let's go talk to the dwarf in the tree. I wonder which corpse it is. The squat, distended body of this elderly dwarf woman dangles from a thin, crooked bough that sags at the tug of her noose. The bloated purple flesh of her neck, worn away in patches like moth-eaten linen, bulges from the rope that suspends her, and her lifeless head lolls forward rigidly from one side to the other when the breeze shifts. You perceive a faint glow around her that casts no light on its surroundings. There is a tepid warmth to it, and you feel somehow that you could reach out and touch it. Not with your hands, but with some aspect of yourself that has no worldly dimension. Reach out for the woman. You take a deep breath, clearing your mind, focusing on your objective. As you exhale, you feel yourself spreading out towards the hanging woman, perceiving all that lies between you and her with new, unfamiliar awareness. Once you have expanded enough to reach her, there is a sudden jolt in your mind, a ringing, electric surge of images and words and sounds. Involuntarily, you shut your eyes and you feel yourself being pulled down to some deeper consciousness in a space occupied by only you and the hanging woman. And when you open them again, you are staring at you. She is staring at you with eyes clouded in milky fog, her body still swaying in the wind you no longer feel from the tree that stands planted in this misty void. The woman gives a slow nod of her head, the rope creaking as she does so, and she smiles at you.
Have you come here for me, dear, or have you gotten lost? Ah, it is both, I think. Yes?
Her eyes squint as she peers down at you. Am I imagining this?
No, I think not. A pity that. It would be simpler. A mercy even. To not have to wander anymore, no? Alas, we are here, you and I. Wherever here may be.
She considers for a moment, looking down at her own limp body. Her tongue clicks and she shakes her head. How are you able to speak to me?
Is that what we're doing? Perhaps it just seems that way. Perhaps it is the easiest way for your mind to make sense of it. I think it is a very good choice.
And music's still playing in the background, and it's like, this is far too dramatic for this conversation. Also, it's a little bit louder than the dialogue was. Whoops. I need to understand something that happened to me. She nods, a look of pity on her face as though consoling a child.
The world looks a little different than it used to, is that it? Feels like you're noticing things for the first time that have always been there.
Now, I paid for the music because I got the collector's edition, so I got the official soundtrack. So yes, we are going to use it, but no, it's one of them where it's like, it's me playing it. I left it going since the beginning of the stream when it was my warm-up music, so it's a bit weird that it didn't sound disjointed between the two, because the game should actually have music as well.
You have seen past the shroud. It only takes an instant. Your soul remembers, yes? Remembers how it sees when it leaves the body, like being reminded of a dream you had forgotten. You are a watcher now, and a watcher you will stay.
What's a watcher?
What indeed? Long hours have many animancers spent studying such things. Not I. Not I. I'll tell you what I know, though, since fair is fair. And here we are, visiting, you and I, and it reminds me of better times. Souls pass on. Some say through Audra stones, which are the blood veins of the world. They leave the world for a time and are reborn into it, sometimes more than they were before, but usually less and seldom the same. For all souls there is a time where they do not live, yet have not passed on, and those souls roam the world, same as you or I, either leaving or lost. But no one sees them because they have forgotten how. A watcher sees, though, knows what to look for. And sometimes they know a person just by looking at them. Know where they've been in ages past when their bodies were other bodies. See memories even their owner can't recall. A wonder to behold when all goes well. A wonder!
What did you mean, when all goes well?
Oh, nothing to be afraid of, I'm sure. It's just much to take in for some. Sometimes there's trouble sleeping or other difficulties.
She smiles at you reassuringly, fanning out a tuft of long whiskers that sprout from one of her cheeks.
You should see old Merwald. He could tell you much more than I. A watcher just like you. Helped many in his day. Took up in an old keep no one would claim. Not far, not far. Kadnua, beyond the Black Meadow. He will welcome the company.
Going back to this sees memories that their owner can't recall, a wonder to behold when it all goes well. I wonder. Basically, some of the histories that I've been seeing into some souls haven't been exactly, well, pleasant. I think I survived a bivouac. Do you know why that would be?
Did you now, dear? My, that would be something, wouldn't it? Could be luck, could certainly be. A storm can be a careless thing.
Caladra appraises you with a scholarly interest for a moment before resuming her cheerful demeanor.
Or maybe it got its hands around your soul but couldn't pick it up. A soul can be heavy if it stayed in one piece through its time. Strong souls, we call them in the trade. Cold, I mean. Called them. Those days are all behind me, no?
You said souls break apart over time?
Oh, yes. Entropy. Rimagan's work. We know little of why or how. We lose pieces of ourselves when we die and pick up pieces of others when we are born again. But less than what we lost. We tried to stop it with the animantic sciences, but with little success. A very small few resist Rimargan's influence and stay together through some force of defiance, at least for a time. But they all succumb eventually, I think.
She clicks her tongue. I want to know something about you.
Me? I'll bore you to tears, though.
Who are you?
And here I thought you'd come to visit me in particular. Caldara de Baranzi, of the Valian Royal Academy of Animantic Sciences. Not the greatest of their number, but I came here all the same because this was where help was needed.
What happened to you? She laughs, a rasping, choked crackle escaping between rows of buttery yellow teeth, causing her body to bob up and down with each spasm. Seeing your blank expression, she catches herself.
Oh, come now. Such a question. As though the answer were plain as a rope tied for strangling. Allow an old dwarf her last bit of cheer. Well, I came where I was needed, didn't I? Offered my services to Lord Radric for a pittance. A humble pittance. I was to examine the Lord's wife. See why the gods have seen fit to poison her womb. Studied her for months. Looked high and low for impurities. Tested her valence, the permeability of her essence. Do you know what I found?
Tell me.
Nothing at all. A healthy woman, head to toe, blessed with a beautiful soul. Such a sweet woman, too. Meek, but warm-hearted. A few months' time, and the lord of the house demanded answers. For a time, I told him what he wanted to hear. Oh, yes, my lord. She is riddled with imbalances. I must have time to cure her. As the birth drew near, he grew impatient, as lords do. And this is where I've ended up.
What's an animancer?
A student of the soul. Something so basic, yet so poorly understood. But so many breakthroughs have been made in my lifetime. Had been made. Had been. To hear the locals tell it, we're a gang of soul manglers that preys upon the weak-minded. And the worst of us are. But the best of us? The best? Inspirations. Miracle workers. My parents were soul twins. Miserable before they met, empty inside. It was an animancer who helped one find the other. Turned their lives around. You wouldn't believe the stories. Amnesiacs helped to remember their lives. The suicidal brought back from the brink of oblivion. The elderly afforded extra moments to say their goodbyes. How soon we forget when we're afraid. It's a fascinating science. A fascinating time to be alive in a place like Deerwood that does not control the research, no? I love the Valian Republics for many things, but their recent caution will leave them behind, I fear.
I had other questions.
Of course, dear.
Farewell.
Goodbye, my dear. It was lovely visiting.
And Caldara closes her eyes and her head slumps forward over the noose, and your surroundings seem to bleed into your vision from some unknown place of waiting. Kashra was granted Crucible of the Soul. Alafel looks at you through narrow eyes. Are you alright? You seem lost just now. I'm a watcher. His arched eyebrows recede into his hood. Well, that is interesting. He gives you a sly grin, and I expect that explains how you survived the bivouac, In any case, I appreciate your honesty. Since we're travelling together, it's probably wise for us to share these things. Do you know anything about the Watchers? Only that they are rare, and they seem to have a unique insight into certain soul conditions, as you just demonstrated. Let's continue on.
17 and a half.
He smells of pipe smoke, at once earthly and sweet. Winds its way. The smell of pipe smoke, at once earthly and sweet, winds its way into your nostrils. Your eyes trace the smoke to its origin, where you find a broad man with a straw-coloured hair leaning against a mossy rock wall. His pipe held up to his lips with one meaty hand. He looks you directly in the eye, but the look is not aggressive. He regards you with a peculiar smirk.
17 and a half. No, could be 18, depending on how you count the dwarf woman.
I'm sorry?
The dwarf woman. You were trying to figure out whether to count her as a full person. I think you oughta.
What are you talking about?
The people hanging from the tree. 18 of them. Well, last I counted, anyway.
I love the frowns. Is that what you do for fun? You people do for fun around here?
Name's Adair. Though to the people around here, might as well be 19. Don't think I'd put you much higher than 22, 23 tops. You look like the sort that likes to get involved.
What makes you think I was interested in the dwarf woman? He looks at you at a moment, his brows arched, his smirk broadens.
I was smoking over here, saw you staring at her. Twice I refilled my pipe. Never so much as blinked. Your mouth was so slack I took you for a Radric at first.
Impossible, I don't drool half as much. Huh, so you're already familiar. Still, you'll have to forgive my curiosity. Round here, we prefer to turn a blind to our dead. Do you know what a watcher is?
Careful, friend. Best not use that word round here. There'd be any number of Radric bootlickers within earshot. Ciphers, animancers, watchers. Same thing in the eyes of folks around here, Radric especially. They come through these parts all the time with their cures, preying on the desperate. None of them are who they claim to be. Of course, seeing you with that funny look, I'd be halfway inclined to believe you were having some kind of communion with that dwarf. Either case, maybe I'm not 19 after all. No offense.
You think you're going to be hanged?
The town's had it in for me for a long time now. Only fellow who ever stuck up for me, well, he's number 18 up there. My headman on the farm. Used to be my captain during the war.
The war? The Saints' War, only one in my lifetime. Fella decides he's the living incarnation of Etheros, overthrows red cures, marches on the Direwood. So we give him a Direwodian hotel. Hello. Was a Direwodian hotel a hello?
We blew him up.
He smiles at this, but the smile is one recounting a joke rather than enjoyment. Who is Eophas? God of Rebirth and Redemption, formerly anyhow. Maybe they call him something different from where you're from. I had other questions. I got time. Why was your headman hanged? Got involved? Rhetoric sent his men down here the other day. Said they had it on good authority. Someone in town was working with Kulsuk, plotting Roderick's overthrow. Said if he didn't come forward right there and then, they'd hang every last one of us. No one was coming forward, so Swithin, that's my headman, he steps up and says it's him. They took him at his word. He sighs and shakes his head, his eyes fixed on a tree. Bound to happen sooner or later. If not for plotting against Rhetoric, then for protecting me. What does your town have against you?
Picked the wrong god. That's what it comes down to. Used to be a lot of Aethys worshippers in Gilded Vale. That mess of rocks over there was a temple to him, to give you some idea. Then one day, somebody named Widewind shows up on Deerwood's doorstep. Says he's the living flesh of Aethys. Got an army with him. Suddenly, Aethys isn't so popular in these parts. My brother Woden and me, neither of us believed it. No way was that Aethys. He enlisted, then I did too. But, he didn't make it back. After the war, people took to punishing Aethys worshippers, accusing them of treason. Got real ugly, especially after the legacy started. Folks needed someone to blame. I was safe because I fought, but then this rumor starts that my brother, that he was on the wrong side. And I wasn't so safe anymore. Until my headman stepped in and said they'd have to hang him to get to me. Seems that's no longer a concern. Of course, the townies don't do the hanging these days, but when Radric's men come, they got no problem doing the pointing.
I can see why you're eager to leave. Who's Kolsk? Someone who got tired of all the hangings. He's on the run now. Probably will be till they catch him. If you're next to be hanged, what are you still doing here? Drinking, mostly. Point of the fact, I'm on my way out. Just haven't figured out where I'm going yet. Not a whole lot of places out there that don't think Widewind's legacy started with Widewind. We could travel together. Where are you heading? Some place called Cadnua. There's an old watcher there who might be able to help me.
Seem to remember hearing something about that years ago. He tamed that place. People would seek him out for all kinds of things. Troubles of the soul, questions for the departed. Of course, that was back when you didn't have to say watcher with a hush on your breath. A man such as that, there'd be things I'd want to ask him. Don't know why I never thought of it before. Not sure how I feel about setting out with a stranger. And a strange one at that. But truth be told, you might be the only one in town who wouldn't feel some relief seeing me swing from that tree.
There's a fine reason if I ever heard one.
Alright then. Guess I'll do some sightseeing. Long as you're not the one picking the sights.
He glances briefly at the tree. He tilts his head forward and gives you a pointed look. Well, let's get going. Now we have two Mad Mercers.
Much. How may I help? Hey.
So that's Matt Mercer.
Hi?
And that's Matt Mercer. We now have two Mercers in the team. For anybody not in the know, Matt Mercer is a fairly prolific and well-known voice actor. Recent rise to personal fame would be in the D&D campaign that he runs GM on a variety of platforms called Critical Role. If you've not heard it, it's kind of worth checking out, but you're in for a long ride if you get into that kind of thing. I don't want to really put too much more into survival because I just wanted the damage reduction that it grants me. Not too concerned about the rest of them. If I put one in each, what happens? I have 2 unused points that will carry over. I can use level 3 scrolls. I've come across one scroll. And the mechanics goes up to 4. Oh, these are phrases. Blessed was Wendgrith, quickest of his tribe. Dull the edge, blunt the point. Slashing and piercing damage reduced, that might be useful. This is movement speed and reflex up. Come soft, the winds of death. Basically just Jane's endurance from my foes. Dull the edge and blunt the point.
How may I help?
Third level fighter, second level wizard, third level chanter. So yeah, one of the things is I should now be able to use that. Probably should sell that off. Grants second chance on unconscious. Once per rest, instant revives with 30 endurance. Once per rest. And damage reduction against pierce. Also has freeze reduction as well. Have a hat, which just looks glorious on you. Constant recovery. Passive self restores endurance, but not health. Defender, +2 enemies engaged, -5 to deflection. Fighting Spirit requires endurance below 50, plus 7 accuracy and plus 15 damage for 20 seconds. Knockdown, chance to knock prone, accuracy versus deflection, full damage, plus 20, full attack plus 20% damage, and the target is knocked prone, or of accuracy versus fortitude. And second wind, athletics, restores of 53 endurance. Mainly focuses in athletics, bit of self, bit of survival. This guy is just all lore and touch of mechanics.
Certainly.
Hey.
I'm going to use some of my meta knowledge and the fact that I've played this a little bit before. It's a bad idea to go straight down there.
Oh?
Hey.
Beneath the vines are crude drawings of a sun rising over 3 stars. As you near, you feel the vibrant history contained in the essence of this man's soul. Voices from its past seem to call out to you. You see the pennant waving tall and sluggish in the wind, a rising sun embroidered on the banner, the vanguard of small troops of paladins. The atmosphere is buoyant if restrained, and their armor has not yet been tarnished by the elements. This expedition is fresh, young, filled with zest and zeal. At their head stands a commander, awkward in full armor, but determined in step. Despite the excitement of his fellows, he does not smile. There's no twist to his mouth, his countenance grim. He throws up a hand, halting his troop. Silence falls among them, revealing a dark thunder, deep and low. He orders them to ready their weapons and spread out. Eyes dart from horizon to horizon, necks twisting to see the source of the sound. In the distance, dust and lightning rise from the ground as Stygian clouds race towards them overhead. The soldiers stand, only this staccato of movement of their breaths betraying their nerves. The commander closes his eyes, calls a blessing down on his troop. Invigorated, invincible, they wait as the enemy draws closer, poised to attack. Let's just road south. Black Hammer Smithery. This man and woman appear to be in deep conversation, working at closing 2 bulging satchels. They move to embrace until the woman notices your approach, pauses, her smile faltering a little.
How do you do?
Can we help you? She looks at her companion, a brow furrowing in confusion. Do you know this woman, Nonton? Nonton Koss. Yes, I think we met in the Valewood. I warned her about the bear. He inclines his head. Glad to see you made it. Was there something else you wanted? Is there anything else you can tell me about Gilded Vale? Ingrid smiles wryly. Only that you'll want to move on as soon as you can. You'll have seen the tree, I imagine, but the rock goes deeper. If you're looking for work, I'd say you'd have better to chance it elsewhere. We're headed for Defiance Bay ourselves. Monton adds. Ah yes, we met him in the wood. He does seem rather cheerful. To say his friend just died. Spoilers, I know roughly what that's about and we'll investigate it in a bit, which is why I didn't press the matter too much right there. We know there's more grain in there, Thumble. We won't settle for scraps while you grow fat on our crops. A muffled shouting emerges from the mill. First, you drunkards come through that door, get shot between the eyes. Gods hear me. Sooner, I'll put you down like a dog. Come away for now, lads, but we'll be back, Thumble. And we'll have fair prices, or by flame, we'll have a reckoning. An elderman stands before you. His relatively stocky build suggests a life of labour. His face is pale and drawn, and his eyes wide. Behind him, a younger man and woman exchange worried glances. The miller raises a club as you enter. He shakes it. It shakes violently in his grip. Get back if you value your life. Hold on, I'm not here to hurt anyone. The miller hesitates, then lowers his club a fraction. Who are you? Is Swainer roping foreigners into his little crusade now? My name is Kashra. I've only just arrived in the Gilded Vale. Thumble shakes his head. You picked a bad time to come visiting. Gilded Vale's had all the shine scraped off. Just a big dung heap now. And Selwyn thinks he's king of it. They're all mad for they are all of them mad. What was all that ruckus outside? Thumble shakes his head. Where to begin? Swainers whipped them up into a froth. Going on about the grain stores. Claims I've hidden most of it away. All I do still with the grain is sell it. I can't create it out of thin air, and I can't hand it out for free. I pay the farmers for the crops they bring in, and I sell what comes out of the mill. Most of it goes to the Black Hound on the west side of town for ale. And Swainer and his lot sure don't mind that part. You take a look at the fields on your way into town? The crop's brighted. And most of what I'm getting from the farmers. Trumbull gestures at the sacks and containers. It's gone off, rotted through. I can't pay top prices for blighted wheat, and I've got barely enough good grain to go around. Swainer's howling after things he has no right to. Maybe I ought to go have a talk with Swainer then. The miller all but sags with relief. I'd be grateful if you did. He won't listen to me anymore, and maybe you'll have better luck. Tell him we're all having a hard time of it, and we'll have to make some sacrifices. We'll be in your debt from it if you can convince him. The rancid stench rises from this grain. It's mushy and mottled with green. My father's a good man. He's always done right by the town. I'm sure father can explain better what's happened here. I'm guessing he's headed off to the pub. I forgot there's a fast mode for moving around town. It's an interesting little building they have here. No door. Anywhere you're supposed to go into, you're supposed to be able to see the door, but it's one of them weird things that's like, let's just not show them the door so that they can't go in, but at the same token it just seems a little bit weird. It's like, shouldn't there be a door somewhere? No, it's commoner, guard, apprentice, Harlan Orenson. It must have been designed for Leon. Windows are the entryway. As you near, you feel the vibrant history contained in here, the essence of this man's soul. Voices from the past seem to call out to you. You see a man crouching, surreptitiously, Nope. You see a man crouching and alone. A series of untamed shrubs are all that hides him from the vision ahead. His eyes are locked on a bellogram, beautiful and terrible. Eyes half-lidded as she hums. A bird with a fantastic blue and orange plumage sits on her shoulder, trilling gently, and the man is entranced. Trembling, tentative, he stands, and the tranquility is broken by the bird's startled squawk. Videlma half smiles, beckoning with twig-like fingers. She does not speak as he approaches. His mouth is dripping sounds of awe and admiration. She waits, coy and tempting, and with agonizing slowness he is before her. Then something changes. She sees something hanging limply from his side, and begins to hiss, fingers suddenly claws and eyes black with hate. He has no time to reach for his axe or grimoire as she strikes, and just as soon as she strikes, she is gone. The only evidence of her existence, the shuddering wreck on the ground. He grabs at his grimoire nevertheless and begins to chant, but the words of a magical language of his own imagining, scribbled in a maniacal shorthand, ring hollow, and the silence continues unabated. He turns and shrugs at someone or something, but if there is something there, you do not see it. As you near, you feel vibrant history contained in the essence of this man's soul. Voices from its past seem to call to you. You see a group of adventurers surrounded by a crowd of attacking Zaurips. This man is with them, seemingly unconcerned by the battle, even detached from it as he stands in the middle of his comrades, chanting, his expression bordering on elation. His voice is he's powerful and deep, booming out across the combatants in a rich counterpoint to the chaos in their fighting. With every phrase, the battlefield changes. His allies glow with the pulsing blue light, freezing the Zaurips that surround them. A blazing pyre erupts from the ground, cutting and burning the creatures and sending them scattering. One of the fallen Zaurips suddenly explodes as 3 giant scrubs crawl from its corpse and attack the remaining enemies. The man continues to chant, thoroughly enthralled in the joy of the moment. Finally, the creatures have been reduced to 1. His allies stand back as the man approaches it, still chanting. He removes his hammer and swings at the Zaurip. His phrase ends as the hammer connects with its head, punctuating the spell and bringing his song to an end. This still no idea. You see, this man is an impressive build, towering above the countertop. His skin is a dusky blue of the deeper oceans, and his arms thick boast corded muscles. Small ears frame a square-jawed face coated with a smear of dust and arcing black tattoos alike. He offers you a broad smile as you approach. Welcome. You're the first new face I've seen in quite some time. What can I do for you? Is this your shop? That it is. Been here on 20 years now. Seen all manner of things over the years, good, look, and bad. Tanu glances at the guard standing along the wall, but the black hammer smithery remains. What do you have here? You come at us at a strange time, I'm afraid. Stock's not what it used to be, but we find weapons and armor to offer yet. All forged right here at the Black Hammer. What happened? We just don't have the supplies. Been expecting the next delivery for near on a week now, and I haven't seen sign of it. Have to expect they were hit by bandits. The road out east is crawling with them, or my workers ran off with the wagon themselves, maybe, too, to make some coin. As if they would, that lot would dare. He's right about the bandits. The dire situation in the villages like this, and the exodus of the cities has created far too many opportunities for unscrupulous sorts. He scratches his jaw, thinking, if you happen to be headed that way, maybe you could keep an eye out for a supply wagon, or my shipment at least. They'd be cutting through Black Meadow, I'd expect. Only good road for it. As it is, most of our weapons go to His Grace, Lord Roderick. He glances at the nearby guard. And that's as it should be. It doesn't leave much for outsiders. We just don't have the iron. Where was the wagon travelling from? We sent the wagon up to New Hiomar with weapons, and it swings round Logholm and the like to purchase supplies. Shortest route back is through the Black Meadow, and then north through the wilds. Had a trader come through with word he made it to Longholm, but haven't heard a thing since. I'll find your supplies. Then you'll have my thanks. You bring those supplies back and I'll have plenty more to offer you. A discount to start. Oh, and if you find my workers, tell them to hurry up or they can take up farming instead.
Good day to you.
Good to see you again. I'm afraid we're running low on goods, but you're welcome to look at what we have. I'd like to see your wares, please. Of course, you won't find finer anywhere else. And you won't. There are some magical weapons or interesting weapons. A graze is an attack roll that is between 16 and 50. A graze reduces damage and duration by 50. A hit is an attack roll between 51 and 100. When an attack hit scores a hit, it does standard damage and has a standard duration. Okay, so that's how this works. At a guess. I mean, I've only got 800 gold. 925. So it's not like I could buy any of these anyway. Grappling hook, ply bar. One per rest. Summon and animate. Though tarnished and lackluster in its remarkable age, the intricate inscriptions and texturing is still discernible on the horn's surface, along with the artifact's obvious longevity. Suggest an object of expert workmanship. Bum, bum, bum. Don't have too many weapons of interest, but we do have a crowbar and a pry bar. I'm not sure if I need that rapier or not. Do we put anything in here worthy of selling? No, not really. Okay. The billows sigh into the furnace and the coals burn brighter still. Daily affirmations of focus and efficiency. 1. All errors can be reforged into lessons. Abdon rebuilds himself from ruin. No setback is insurmountable, not even death itself, so long as a soul is dedicated to the task. 2. Work hard, work well. Abdon demands only honest labour and forthright service. All errors can be reforged if your first intentions are pure. 3. All ignorance can be reforged into knowledge. Master your craft. Excel at what you have been trusted to do. Do not offend your teacher by remaining a student forever. 4. Each generation must forge its successors. Teach your trade to all who are willing to learn, and in doing so, multiply the fruits of your knowledge. 5. All difficulties can be reforged into triumphs. Meet strife with humility and acceptance. Let adversity temper the ingot of your will, and you will never shatter. 6. Embrace your station. Fulfill the duties of your rank and meddle not in the affairs of your betters. All guilds fail at their weakest link. 7. All loss can be reforged into strength. Profitable work heals all emptiness. As long as you have the tools of your trade, you will always be able to forge wealth anew. 8. Value the work of others, and they will value your work in return. Share the harvest with the hungry, and your tools with the destitute. 9. All souls can be reforged into whatever we will. Hard work is not exclusive to life. Death is no time for complacency. Commit yourself to excellence in this cycle and the next. Sounds like a terrible time. Oof. Alright, so we got some side quests. Oh yes, we need to go speak to Swena. What's his face?
Hail, traveler.
Don't know who you are and don't much care. Keep walking. We're not here to chat with foreigners. Careful. Looks like they're cut from the same cloth as those rowdies who attacked me. Smells like it too. I saw you outside the mill. What was that about? Well, someone fancies themselves a meddler, huh? Well, what's that about? It's about Thrumble thinking he's king of the town on account he's got a mill in his name. I keep going into the same accent. The dwarf's jowls quiver with rage. It's about him barely giving us any of what we bring him, and then cutting our purses when we need to buy grain. And it's about farmers going hungry while some bastard gets rich off their crops. That's what it's all fucking about. Now shove off. What if I buy you all around? Will you talk to me then? Swainer considers it briefly. He looks at the others. Fair enough. You bring us something to wet our throats, and maybe we'll feel up to trading words.
Good day, stranger.
Hello again. Anything I can do for you? We still have rooms open, and it's never too late, never too early for a drink. I'd like to buy a round for the fine fellas over there. Fine fellas? You're having me on. Any more fighting and I'll ban Swainer from the inn entirely. Until then, it's 6 coppers apiece for the lot. Please, if I can just get them talking, I might be able to convince him to stop harassing the miller. The innkeeper studies you warily for a moment and then sighs. Well, that's all right then. Here, 3 drinks for the 3 fools. You get them off Fumble's back and maybe he'll be a little less stingy with his supplies.
Greetings.
You again. What do you want now? I brought drinks. Hey, so you have. By the flame, I never thought I'd be so happy for a mug of Black Hound's shit beer. God, that's good. Alright then, you got my attention. What is it you've got to say that's worth a round of drinks? Maybe you could tell me more about what's going on. Like I said, the miller's in charge of the grain prices. He says they're fair, but I know for a fact that folks like Arthur pay half as much. Pay half of what we do, and maybe we've been a bit rough with them. But what are we supposed to do? Can't keep paying them. We're going to starve. Do you think Flumble's going to be sorry about it when we do? Maybe I could go talk to Fumble for you? Ha! You think you can get through to him when we haven't? The man's thick as a peat bog. I hear he's got his soul red. Found his kin used to grow sonor trees for the Adrian lords up until they figured out their side was losing. Explains why his knees still ache to bend to whatever lord or lady crosses the road. He'll be holed up in his mill for days, the coward. But here, if you want to give it a shot, then good luck. We'll owe you one if you manage it. Now we run across town. I'm putting it in fast mode, so that the animation looks weird, but the time is shorter. Look at him go.
Good day to you.
Got back. Have any luck with Swainer? I spoke to Swainer. And Thrumble takes a deep breath. And what did he say? He says you're treating the farmers unfairly, raising prices and giving them rotten grain. Of course he does. He's been saying nothing else for days now. The man's delusional. If he wants grain, he'll have to pay for it. What's going on here, anyway? Where to begin? Saina's whipped them up into a froth about going on about the grain stores. Claims I've hidden away most of it. All I do with the grain is sell it. I can't create it out of thin air, and I can't hand it out for free. I pay the farmers for the crops they bring in, and I sell what comes out of the mill. Most of it goes to the Black Hound on the west side of town for ale, and Swainer and his lot sure don't mind that part. You take a look at the fields, blah blah blah. I can't pay top prices for blighted wheat, and I've barely got enough good grain to go around. Swain is howling after things he has no right to. Seems like a pretty clean story for a messy situation. Thrumble frowns. It's not. He pauses. Look, Swain has always been a rotten bastard. With stores limited, maybe I save the good stuff for people who deserve it. Alfra, for instance. She's expecting a child. Should I let her starve instead? Do the villagers know about the grain supply? Thrumble looks embarrassed. Some, the innkeeper, for instance. It's better not to worry anyone. I'll be trading for supplies soon enough. If we can just keep things calm until then, we'll be in the clear. The innkeeper? I won't drink the ale, that's all I'm saying.
Hail and well met.
I'm trying to remember roughly if there's an ideal way out of this. I can't remember. The ideal way out is to basically get everybody to calm down.
Gods keep you.
Blah 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 blah. Okay.
Hail and well met.
Look, there's no sense in threatening the miller. You have him up against a wall. Maybe you could ask some of the other villagers for help? Swainer eyes you for a few long moments, drinking deep from his mug. Then he sighs. You're right. If things go on like they are, we're just going to end up hanging from that tree out there. He looks at his comrades. Tell Thrumble we'll leave him be. See, to me, that doesn't... That doesn't seem like a sentence to de-escalate the situation. It's like, maybe you could ask some of the villagers for help in burning down the mill or breaking it open or something. That's how it senses to me. Not... Yeah, ask the other villagers for a hand in getting by at the moment because you're screwed otherwise. Don't know what we'll do now with crops failing. Haven't got another trade to speak of. Think Pasca needs a hand around the inn. Hey Pasca, people want to work for you. You don't like them, but haha. Right, now to run to the other side of town.
Well met, friend.
Thrumble nods a curt greeting. You're back? You had any luck with Swainer? I spoke to Swainer. And what did he say? I've convinced him to leave your family in peace. Why, that's great news. I wasn't sure if you get through to him. They're out of their minds with drink half the time. I owe you a debt. Here. He pulls a coin purse from his hip and pushes it toward you. Today's earnings, to show my appreciation. And you can be sure I'll let everyone know what you've done for me. Is that really all you can afford after I saved your family? Keep it. You're having a hard enough time. You're a generous soul, friend. I'll have you to thank for making it through the coming year. Safe travels, and may you find favor with the gods. And Aloth levels up. Who's just putting all these points into lore. because I'm guessing that's part of being a wizard. You can actually go back and basically be like, I just want first level spells. I don't. I want second level spells. Combusting wombs. Oh, God, so many things to go through. Ugh. Bewildering spectacle. Creates a bizarre, perplexing visual distraction, confusing enemies in the area of effect. Confused for 6.5 seconds. The confused affliction makes the character behave erratically. Every 6 seconds, the target randomly checks on the following checks randomly to do one of the following: behave normally, attack an ally, walk in a random direction, or do nothing. Binding web pins a resilient viscous web through the area of effect, leaving unfortunate victims stuck inside. Stuck characters are rooted, able to act but unable to leave their current location. Dexterity is reduced by 2, accuracy is reduced by 5 for all sources, reflex and deflection are reduced by 20. Bulwark against the elements. Creates a mystical shield around the caster, suffusing them with bonuses to burn, freeze, corrode, and shock damage reductions. Combusting wounds causes enemy wounds in the area of effect to ignite, inflicting additional burn damage over time each time they are wounded. Sounds nasty. I love it. Conceal Heart and Corrosive Siphon eats away at the target's spirit, inflicting corrosive damage and converting that essence into endurance for the caster. Foe's AoE of 55.5 corrode damage has endurance over 13 seconds. That's also nasty. Curse of the Blackened Sight. Shrouds the target's vision in total darkness, blinding them. Accuracy is reduced by 25 for all sources. Perception is reduced by 4. Movement is reduced by 2. Reflex and deflection is reduced by 20. Fetid Caress. The target becomes paralyzed, afflicted with boiling pustules of foul-smelling liquid that erupts from their skin, sickening those nearby. A paralyzed target can't take any actions. Their dexterity is set to 0, and their reflex and deflections are reduced by 40. Override stunned, stuck, and prone. Second character has all attributes reduced by 1. Fortitude and will are reduced by 10. Infused with Vital Essence. Infuses the caster with vitality, giving them a temporary increase to maximum endurance and health. Merciless Gaze. The caster becomes able to see an enemy's weakness and vulnerabilities as though they were physically tangible, increasing the chance of landing a critical hit. 15% of hits converted to crits for just under a minute. Miasma of Dull-Mindedness. A cloud of heavy fog settles in the minds of those in the area of effect, dulling senses and wits, inflicts penalties to perception, intellect, and resolve. Creates duplicates, a mirrored image creates duplicates of the caster to distract enemies, granting a high deflection bonus, which is reduced with each hit taken. Necrotic Lance creates a lance of necrotic energy, causing corrode damage instantly and over time. Ray of Fire creates a scorching ray of flame between the caster and the target, inflicting continual burn damage to target and anyone caught in the ray. Rolling Flame creates a rebounding ball of fire, inflicting burn damage upon anyone in its path. Sounds like a terrible idea for chaos. I like chaos, but that sounds like a terrible idea. I want to go with necrotic lance for the corrode damage and combusting wounds for the fire damage. I just like the sound of combusting wounds. I could go with a ray of fire, but that's just, well, mundane. Yay, everybody's now level 3. I think I bit my tongue earlier. No, that's that button. I wanted this button. So there's some stuff to do in the Valewood. I need to go out here, and the Black Marsh is probably somewhere and to the south. For the Mother's Plea. Let's go find the cook. It will take you 8 hours to travel to the Valewood. It is pitch black in the Valewood. Northwest to Gidern's Grasp and south to the Gilded Vale. Young wolves. Something I wanted to check out with you. Weapon focus, saber, stiletto, club, and pistol. So rapier, not a stiletto. I only have two of those. Arcane Assault. Per encounter. Unleashes a bolt of magical energy from the grimoire that inflicts raw damage and dazes targets in the area. Sounded like somebody leveled up. No? Okay.
Of course.
Discovered ruins. These aged walls appear to have once encircled the entire glade. Only a small fragment remains, and the stairs leading to the top of the structure have crumbled away. Examine the wall more closely. The heavy bricks are slick with moss, presenting a hindrance to climbing, but the stones themselves seem sturdy enough. With the right tools, one might easily reach the top. Scale the wall. The crumbling walls is of considerable height. Even now, its an uneven surface promises a difficult climb. Who shall scale it? Ask Endir to climb up. Endir finds a handhold upon one of the large stones and starts to climb. Despite a few loose rocks and awkward angles, Endir makes swift progress and quickly arrives at the top of the wall. Once there, Endir helps you up and over the side. Scrawled letter. I do not think you will ever see this, but you were right, Fulvano. We should have journeyed south together, and it would have been safer for it. I would tolerate all the gloating in the world if I might live to hear it. I have put myself out of reach of the beasts circling below, but I am done for all the same. I do not think I will rise again. Whoever finds this, pray for me. Perhaps in the next life I shall be a trapper of wolves. From the edge of the wall, you can see an old cobblestone road turning south and the patchy trees of the Valewood. You swing yourself over the side and pick your way down back down to ground level. Right. Fulvano's gloves. Though never as famed as he would claim, the Valian explorer Fulvano was known as an eccentric who wished to see the world. Where possible, he travelled by foot to gain a local's appreciation for the sights, sounds, and smells of the lands he passed through. In practice, however, Fulvano often claimed that his explorations proved only that the world outside of the Valian republics was a foul, smelly place that paled in comparison to his homeland. These gloves are said to have belonged to Fulvano, who often found himself in need of some protection as he climbed harsh terrain or maneuvered through forests. While thick enough to provide some warmth, they are meant first and foremost to be flexible enough not to hinder delicate tasks. Give him to the wizard, because apparently the wizard needs dex. And a touch more salt. A young dwarf tending to a stew looks up, startled as he sees you approach. He drops his ladle, spattering stew across the ground. What? The bandits turn. Get her, you dogs, and make sure our new cook doesn't run off. Help! Please! Help! I'm there! One of the bandits gives Tenthrift a kick as they pass him, and he huddles.
Yes.
We got a guy at the back who's resisting, coming forward. I really didn't do as much damage as I would have liked.
Hey.
Really not as much damage as I would like. Come on. Continue peppering that guy. Yeah, no sense in that one. Oh, finally one of them died. Alright, everybody gang up on this guy. Oh yeah, I've got spells that are based on chance, aren't I? Duh. I forgot I do spells. Oh, that's a lot of stuff. Hunting bow, dagger, dagger, hatchet, small shield, leather armor, leather armor, leather armor, cape, hood, what's this stuff? Golem. They're made from the sacred and sacred and common plant grows deep in air and Glanfath. Carogalan is given its name of a mixture typically used solely for ceremonial purposes or else by warriors going into important battles. It is said to open one's awareness to one's place in the world, raising one's abilities to recognize and react to threats. Of course, at some point you crash, and then bad things occur. Shall take the vegetables. 10 through.
How do you do?
By the flame, thank you, thank you, thank you. I thought I'd be stuck here cooking for these ignorant weasels for the rest of my life. Or until they bore with me, I suppose. Did Pasca send you? She must be beside herself. I must get back at once, but listen, the next time you're in Gilded Vale, make sure to drop by the Black Hound. I'll let her know what you've done for me, and I'm sure she'll do right by you in return. Oh, and to be back at my oven again.
Of course.
A stiletto. The tent is empty, but for a pair of stained cots and the stink of unwashed bodies. There's a body on the ground there.
Great, I feel like...
Knock him down. Or blow him up. One of the two. The shattered pieces of a crate are strewn across the dirt, along with a few muddy vegetables.
Alright then.
It's said to be a bear in this area, so... The grass is still flattened behind the wagon's wheels, and barrels of cabbages, potatoes, and squash have been overturned and abandoned. Are there two crossings in this river? I'm guessing there is. Although I say river, it's a little more than a stream. Can't click to go off that way. It's interesting, there's a signpost for it somewhere over this way. And usually when you click off a map in a certain direction, it gives you a hint as to where you can go, but you can't seem to go anywhere. Location discovered. Bear Cave. This might be a terrible idea.
Yes?
Great. I feel like...
Knock it on his ass again. There we go. Cave Carl. And a great sword. Mice crawl through eye sockets and old femurs. A figure drifts, suspended in the musty air of the cavern. Its forms and features blur and twist in the cascading ripples of incandescence. You feel its energy eddying and about your limbs, filling them with a heavy chill. You reach out a hand for the spirit. In the moment of contact, you feel as if you have been struck a blow, head reeling as you tumble helplessly into the waiting darkness. Light blooms at the edges of your vision. You feel the sun on your back and the weight of a bow in your hand. You know, suddenly, that you have come a long way from the vale, hunting deer. Now you stand before a cavern, and the darkness extends far into its depths. Even so, your friend strides out before you, his red cloak flapping at his heels. You follow, heart hammering in your chest as he leads you deeper into the cavern. There is a roar like thunder echoing around you. Fear seizes you. You cast you stumbling back towards the exit, towards light and escape. You see a glint of steel, and then a sudden trembling flash, terrible flash of agony behind your knee. You scream, stumble, and fall. Your thoughts are chaos, lanced through with pain, but in a moment of terrible clarity you see your friend look back from the mouth of the cavern, his dagger daubed in crimson to match his cloak. And then there is a great dark shape above you. And then there is more pain. The vision recedes and you are thrown back into yourself with seemingly resentful force. The corpse lies at your feet and the spectre lingers. In the span of energy between you both, you feel a sense of questioning, of confusion, of anger. I met him on the road, your friend. A sudden lashing anger emanates from the spirit. Rage and grief seem to pour from the glimmering figure like smoke. You're dead, spirit. There is nothing for you here. The spirit roils with thwarted anger and grief. Sorrow seems to seep into the very air of the cavern. The spirit dims and fades until you are alone once more. Dum dum da. He betrayed his friend.
Brave.
Zaurups.
Hey. Hey.
Probably going to leave that turned off. The rounded dry tongue of the Zaurup.
All right then.
Some copper, a padded helm, a quarterstaff. The struts and supports are large enough to be the ribs and vertebrae of a dragon. But are they though? Are they? That of a dragon, that is, not. Are they big enough? Of course they're big enough. We just said that they are. Ah, my nose. So yes, a couple of hunting buddies go out. One of them betrays the other, leaves them as food for the bear, but then the hunting buddy returns home to comfort the wife. The wife who is now suddenly widowed. But not too concerned about the fact that they've recently been widowed. Also, it took 8 hours to get there, 8 hours to get back. An hour after, so it's probably time for a bit of a rest after this.
Well met, friend.
Hello again. I hope Gilded Vale has been kind to you. You two seem to be in a hurry. Yes, I imagine so. We're packing for a trip, actually. I've been meaning to visit Defiance Bay and, well, in truth, I think I've had my fill of this town. Norton reaches for a hand. It's time for some new scenery. I know what really happened in that bear cave, Norton. The colour drains from Norton's face. I don't know what you mean. I told you the truth of it. Are you accusing him of something? Ingrodid looks to Norton, touching his arm. If this is about the accident, we're both grieving Pearlie's loss. But it was a wild animal's doing. Norton shakes his head minutely. Do you see a tremble in his hands? What would make you suggest such a thing? Why did you do it? He was your friend. Norton hesitates, and then his expression darkens. My friend? He was a cruel enough man to his friends. You didn't know him. You wouldn't defend him if you did. His hand falls to his sword belt. Norton, wait. Ingrid raises a hand. I don't know what you saw in that cave, but this isn't what you think. Pearlie, my husband. He was such a beast, as much as a beast as that bear. I tried to leave the first time I suffered his temper, but he wouldn't have it. She looks away expression pained. Nonton, we met, and I knew I'd found someone special, someone kind, who cared for me. And please, all that we want is to leave this place, to start somewhere else. She looks down at the satchels. We've some coin saved up. You could have it, if you'll let us go. Keep the money. Use it to start your new life. Ingrid blinked, surprised. Then, thank you. Truly, I'm glad you understand. Only here, take this. It's at least. I hope it brings you luck. She looks at Norton, smiling. We have a long journey ahead of us. Minor ring of deflection added to your inventory. See, minor ring of deflection suggested it's a minor ring, not a ring of minor deflection, which I'm guessing is what it's meant to be. I wish you well on your travels, stranger. We won't forget this. Now that they're gone, rob the place. Vidya would. So is that a ring? So is that the ring? So is that a ring that minor or for minors? Probably. That or keeping away minors. English so confusing. Bediawood Part 2, The Broken Stone War. In 2626 AI, a group of farmers, while clearing farmland for planting, accidentally knocked down one of the ancient Adra Mahirs on their land. This innocent act drew the ire of the native population and started what would come to be known as the Broken Stone War. When it was finally over, several thousand colonists had been killed, as well as hundreds of Glenfartham. Even though the war was technically over, the Glenfarthams escalated their attacks on the settlers over the next 2 years using vicious tactics that left many colonists, several military figures, an earl, and 6 thanes dead. Unable to stop the Glenfartham attacks, the earls elected Earl Edgrand Hadred to the position of Greth. Well respected and known to be a master of military tactics, he was tasked with dealing with the Glenfartham threat. Edgrand fought with the Glenfarthams, led by an Orlan named Ragged, for the next 2 years. Neither side could gain the upper hand on the other, resulting in a tense stalemate between the two groups. Because of this stalemate, the hostilities slowly died off, and in 2631, the Drywoden people signed a treaty with the Glenfarthams. Reged would stand down, and the Glenfarthams would stop their attacks altogether. The Drywoden people would leave the ruins alone. This treaty angered the nobility in the Aedar, as it brought a halt to the supplies of artifacts. Edrang also tried to get the practice of slavery outlawed, but this was not successful. Because of this, the peace between the Drywood and the heir Glenfarth is uneasy and tumultuous. Small patches of rural violence still cropped up, but were easily dealt with, as neither side wanted another war. This bottle of Sonoreed is half empty. No idea what Sonoreed is, but apparently it's half empty in a bottle. We got a ring. Ooh. Yeah. Minor ring of deflection gives +5 deflection, so it's a minor bonus to your deflection in the form of a ring. So which one's deflection? That's 51, 41, and 19, but he stays at range a lot, so hey. That is useless to me. That is useless to me. Oh, this is a stiletto, isn't it? And that's one of the weapons that's in the ruffian group. Saber, stiletto, club, pistol, and blunderbuss. Stiletto. Bypasses 3DR. That has +5 accuracy. Okay. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Basically, the stiletto being piercing will bypass some of the DR that the enemy might have. Where the club, because it's just large and wieldy like that, it has some degree of accuracy. We could also enchant the stiletto. It's one of them where I'm not very good at using up sort of like these things. Enchantments, because it's like, okay, so I could put this effect on there. And to be fair, this spider leg, the spear spider leg, doesn't really fall into anything else. Or it might do, but hopefully by the time I need more of this stuff, I'll have more spider legs. I don't think it actually does. Not for this anyway. But it always makes me wonder, do I really want to do it on this? Is it really worth doing it on this? Also, I think I've just realised that you can only have one quality on there. So yeah, I can either have accuracy or damage. Accuracy, I don't have enough materials, but I could get a turquoise. Or I could wait until I get to level 4 and just put fine on there, which gives me both accuracy and damage. Or I could wait until level 8 and get exceptional, which is accuracy and damage of accuracy and 2 and damage 2. Or I could wait even longer and eventually get hold of a Kraken Eye, a Topaz, 10,000 copper pieces, and put on 15 accuracy and 55 damage. Which seems a bit of a while to wait. Do I just wait the extra level or so for the fine stiletto, or do I put on damaging one now? The thing is, I'm guessing a lot of these things. Oh, two-handed weapons require 2 of them. And again, I don't have the right requirements for the fine scepter. Or do I put it on? So yeah, he has a saber. I'm kind of curious as to what it will do in my hands. Yeah, I'm much more accurate with it than he is. Or 8 points more accurate. But I'm tempted to give him the damaging 1, and then when I level up I can put the fine on the stiletto. There we go. Say I'm not very good at this, I just did it. Nobody can stop me. Well, we pass the point of being able to stop me. I've already done it. Haha. Run, people.
Hail, traveler.
Hello and welcome to the... Oh, it's you. And Tenthriff told us what you did for him. It's such a relief to have him back. I can't thank you enough. Consider yourself a favourite of the house. Discount on drinks, rooms, and Tenthriff said he wanted to whip you up something and whip up something nice for you. He's already back to work in the kitchens. So what would you like? Could I have a look at what you have for sale? I'm sure you'll find something to your liking. We have the finest cook in Direwood. So their list of things has been expanded at least. Right, no, don't right click on things, left click on things. Because you also have money. That one looked a little weird. Leather armor. Leather armor. DR6 recovery 30. DR6 recovery 30. They're just different styles of the same armor. They're all the same armor. Yep. Cape. Hard. Padded cap. Bear hide, 4 wolf hides, and a bunch of stuff that I'm gonna keep. Trade. And the prices have come down to semi-reasonable costs, but I'm still not gonna pay that much for our in-room. Not at this stage. I'll speak with Tenrith before we leave. Ah, it's you, my saviour. It's so good to be back. He makes a sweeping gesture to indicate the kitchen around you. I do not think I would let this go unrewarded. I have decided that you have earned the right to learn one of my most closely guarded secrets, my dearest recipe. After this, you will eat nothing else. A savoury pie to keep you hale and hearty. May it serve you well in your travels. And I've learnt the recipe for it. Oh, there's a whole crafting thing in this that I totally forgot about. Yeah, you can make scrolls if you want. As long as you've got the ingredients. And below, you can craft the scroll. Which can be useful, but you've also got food. Including the savoury pie now, which requires beer, grain, and meat. It's one of them where it's like, I don't know. I'm never very good at using consumables. I know that there's some games where it's like if you don't use consumables, you're pretty much screwed. At some point in the game, but it's like, do you use the consumables to get up to that point? Do you wait until you cannot get any further along the narrative and then start consuming the consumables? Do you make the consumables and just, you know, is it supposed to be an easier time for you going forward? Or is it supposed to be... I never know. The only games where I've reasonably used them as much as possible.
That Lord Radric's heir was not born well. My lord has issued an injunction on all new homesteads until he can be assured that the village has been cleansed of all Aothasians and whatever other undesirables that have brought this curse upon his lands. It would be best if you left town as soon as possible. I would suggest returning to your old home. There will be no place for you here. You may stay at the inn until you can make the necessary arrangements, but I would not advise remaining long. I expect Lord Radric will be most thorough in his efforts to purify this place.
I'd like to report a murder. I'd like to know more about Gilded Vale. We're a frontier town, as are most settlements in the Direwood. Gilded Vale hasn't grown much since its establishment in the colonial days, and the last 15 years have seen our population shrink further. He takes in the ramshackle houses and the half-fallen fences. Hence our recruitment for fresh settlers. Indeed. Why has Gilded Vale's population been shrinking? Waidwin's legacy, of course. Many women have had difficulty bearing healthy children of late. A few years ago, Lord Rederick had decreed that no mothers of Hollowborn are to be allowed in Gilded Vale. His mouth tightens to a firm line. His lordship dealt swiftly with the objections. It may be harsh, but if it purges us of this curse, is it not worth it? Tell me about those ruins behind the tree. That is all what's left of the Temple of Aethus. His lips pucker. Lord Rederick forbade the worship of dead gods after the Saints' War. It's been abandoned almost 15 years, but there are plans to rededicate it to Dwarf, the god of life and death. Abandoned? And some say because some nice lord decided to pull it down because he was scared of God even after it died. Dwarf's a good choice, though. I like it. Dwarf believes in cycles. I like to think that that what happened to that temple will get repaid someday too. Enough about Gilded Vale. You'll get to know town enough, well enough as you explore it, I'm sure. Goodbye. I'm not going to start objecting and arguing with the fellow. He might just have me lynched straight up. Did someone say murders? No, murder. Singular. We got Easternwood and Magran's Fork. Where am I supposed to be going? Southeast past Gilded Vale, past the Black Meadow. I will travel there to speak with Mayorwald. Black Meadow, Mayorwald, and I believe this is just straight up south. Yeah, travel south to Anslog's compass. So let's go to Magran's Fork.
Hey.
Craved after.
That's it.
Stay down.
All right then.
Who's this? Smegus Fulmer. What are you doing stood in the middle of the woods? Ah, hello there. Begging your pardon. But you gave me such a good. But you gave me a good fright. I thought I heard something rustling through the bush. Suppose that was just you. Silly of me. Don't suppose you happen to be in need of some supplies? I thought I'd make my way back to over Magram's Bridge, but I'm starting to think I'd be better off heading back to town and getting a few more folks together. Better safe than sorry, right? Say, did you hear something?
Craved. I feel like.
Hey.
Stay down.
All right then.
By every star in the sky, thank you. I'd never seen these beasts so bold before. Strange times we're in. Here, take these. I'm headed back to Gilded Vale for certain, and you can make better use of them. 3 potions of minor endurance added to the inventory.
Crave.
We've got a few wolves here.
I feel like.
Now, I would like you to continue charging forward.
I shall deal with this one.
Will you do something? Why are you? What are you doing? Where are you going? Just murder the one that's in front of you. Don't go running around. Well, he's dead. Come on, get up, do things.
Damn it. We gotta take better care of Aloth.
You need to take better care of yourself first. Run away! The party has died. There's been a murder. I think this is the latest save. Ah, hello there. Begging your pardon, but you gave me a good fright. I thought I heard something rustling through the bushes. I suppose that was just you. Silly me. Don't suppose you happen to be in need of some supplies. I thought I'd make my way back, way over to Magma's bridge, but I'm starting to think I'd be better off by heading back to town and getting a few more folks together. Better safe than sorry, right? Say, did you hear something? Q Wolf.
Hey.
That's something I got, wasn't it? Totally forgot that. No. No. There we go, this button. Oh, don't. Well, no, add that to that one and then go down to this one and put that in there. And we're going to call this dull and blunt.
Hey.
By every star in the sky, thank you. I've never seen the beast so bold before. Strange times we're in. Here, take these. I'm headed back to Gilded Vale for certain, and you can make better use of them.
Hey.
And we're not going to go down and look for those wolves until, well, later. How much later? Who knows? Maybe about 2,000 points later of experience. West to Gilded Vale, south to Anslog's Compass, east to the Black Meadow.
Saw you in the flames.
I beg your pardon? Squatting at the bottom base of this statue is an incredibly ugly man, with bulging red cheeks raked with pox scars and a scraggly beard. He is sweating as if he has a fever, but his breathing is measured and steady, like a slow push of a blacksmith's bellows, but that comparison feels strange and unwelcome. The next comparison, possibly sparked by his grin, is that of a bear trap, and then, out of nowhere, there is a hint of alchemical fire that fades almost as soon as you identify the smell.
Come to pray at the statue.
The question mark is barely there. As the man makes the statement, the statue takes on a reddish cast, as if one is holding a torch to it, then slowly blossoms into wavering flames. The man doesn't turn to the statue as the statue blossoms into fire.
The others are welcome, but it's best if just you and I trade words, and your shadows stay quiet. Hands off their weapons, both arcane and steel. It's only you I want to trade words with anyway.
His face tenses with an iron bear trap smile ready to spring.
I swear before the whore that is Margaret, no harm will come to you in her shadow. If that's enough of a promise for you. If not...
Examine the statue. The weaving of firelight from the statue gives off no heat, so much so you wonder if it's some trick of the mind. But the ugly man before you doesn't seem to notice it or feel it, although the sheen of his brow is still present, as if he's burning up from within. Study the man. A sudden weaving flame from the statue of Magrin casts more light on his features. The man's robes are dirty, stained with grease and other marks of the road. The hem of his robes, including the sleeves, are burnt at the edges, as if we've walked a great distance across the fire, then reached into the flames with his hands to pull something out. But while his hands are thick and calloused, they bear no burn or scorch marks. Focus your gaze on the staff. The staff looks thick and stout and of blackened ash once burnt by a terrible fire. Beneath the ash, the lines of the wood bear shapes and patterns, and there is a certainty to the staff was once something far more dangerous, but not now. As you study it deeper, it shimmers slightly in your eyes, like water catching the light weaving across the statue. Whatever the power bled from the staff, it doesn't make it or the wielder any less dangerous. You look up to see the man watching you study the staff. As his gaze meets yours, he nods with humorless smile. Strange choice of company. Stone seems cold comfort. The man smiles slightly at your words, then nods, never taking his eyes off you. I could do better. The whole road holds little else. His eyes run the length of your frame, and he follows it with a sneer. Until now.
The world holds many whores we worship. Respect comes with honest titles. I bet even you have gone against instinct in exchange for a little copper, or paid for such in countless ways. But if I give offense, if words are all that are left to a man, then why in the Deerwood of all places he should have leave to speak them?
I need to remember DYR is deer, apparently. Deerwood. I didn't catch your name, and why would you want to speak with me?
I didn't give it. You probably find names as useless as I do. The names that litter this world like debris are hard enough to wrap around the tongue. And what do they matter? It's what's beneath the skin and the letters I care about. What burns within. It's more important to me you're a watcher than whatever culture or accent decorates your letters like awkward crowns. Take pride in your actions, not where you hail from, or how your name rolls off whatever liar's tongue coats it now. If you need a title to hang on me to match your own, Watcher, then call me Durance. And as you observe souls, I test them.
How did you know I was a watcher? Durance shakes his head, his hand curls tightly on his staff. I can see the questions bubbling up. Let's burn them away one by one.
I am a missionary. I walk this diseased nation with its heathen, its people so careless with the spirits of others and their own, watchers among them. Yes, I know you for what you are, and your name doesn't interest me. Names are for honest folk, and you are a crack that shines light from another place. We're meant to travel together, you and I. Saw you in the flames. Not your face, but that soul of yours. All tightened up, like a huntsman's knot.
You saw my soul in the flames?
There's things we can teach each other, if you're in need of answers to your mantle of questions. I don't force my words on anyone other than you. I don't care who walks with you or what their muling problems and politics are. There's enough howling in the world without me stoking that fire. I won't take from your provisions, don't need much on the road. I can carry my weight, which is considerable.
He inhales again, giving you the impression of a blacksmith's bellows, and he smiles, almost proudly.
Many will stand against you. They probably already have, from what I can see. Left their marks, it seems. Like a trail, worming its way behind you.
What kind of marks?
Disease? Spirit wind? Both could have touched you, yet here you stand. As for disease, not all of us were close to water when the pox hit. But it's no longer a passenger in my flesh. it left its marks as well. But like flames, the pox doesn't strike twice, nor is it catching.
If your stone mistress here allows it, then come on.
Her? Don't fear her jealousy. Let us see what the road holds, Watcher.
And we now have Durance. Whether we want it or not, I suppose. And Durance, a third level priest of Magran. I don't know who Magran is, although I do believe he called her a whore. He's got a bunch of spells. Which I shall go into at another point. But it has come up to about 3 hours, so it is time for me to save again. I'm kind of glad that we got a priest. I knew that the priest was coming. I kind of remembered the priest was coming as soon as I entered this area. So, oh yeah, there's a guy stood by a statue somewhere. I forgot how abrasive he was. But I've forgotten what I'm usually supposed to say now. So yes, this has been Pillars of Eternity Session 2. We've cleared the town of quests. We've talked to everybody in town, gathered a few quests, completed 2 of them. The guy who died by the bear and the cook. Got the pregnant lady's request and the blacksmith's requests. Also, for the main plot, got the Animancer and one of the companion side quests. I don't know what the other companions have got in store. The guy, Dorrance, just gave me a trial of some variety, but we'll get into that next time. So yeah, 6 hours into it. It's going fairly well. One of the things that I don't like about the real-time combat, and it seemed a little bit awkward there when it was the multiple wolves. I probably walked into that fight a little bit soon. Maybe now that there's 4 of us, it's survivable. Maybe I just need to be more careful with making sure that people are doing things. But I will be back at least next Thursday for Pillars of Eternity. Tomorrow I will be back playing Prey with JStation64 and Magcat_UK hopefully joining me in the chat. At 9 PM. On Mondays, you don't find me here, but you can find me over on Manapot Studios, where I GM for a Starfinder Adventure Path Fly Free or Die in a stream that we call All That Glitters Explodes, with Krifu Banal, JStation64, Retro Ted, and Crit Commissions. And then next Tuesday you'll be able to find me back here on my channel around 6 PM, where hopefully I'll be playing Final Fantasy XIV. It might be again Pillars of Eternity, depends on the Lord of Irony or Crit Commission's availability. It is Thursday evening, so as per, we are going to be raiding JStation64 over on his channel, where I believe he is continuing his playthrough of No Man's Sky. I think he might still be on an expedition, or that might have finished. I'm not entirely sure. But if you would like to join me for the raid, that would be much appreciated. If not, I hope to see you all again next time, and until then, tidy bye.